In the town of Regulus Show, there stood a park like no other. It was a place where the bizarre was just another day at the office, and the surreal was the norm. The park was the home to a handful of peculiar characters who found employment at the local park. Mordecai the Blue Jay, Rigby the Raccoon, Benson the Gumball Machine, Skips the Immortal Yeti, Muscle Man and High Five Ghost, and Pops, the wealthy and naive humanoid lollipop. On an ordinary day, Mordecai and Rigby were tasked with cleaning out the park's storage room. Little did they know that their mundane chore would unleash a terror that would consume their world. Hidden within the storage room was an ancient book covered in dust and mystery. The book, bound in tattered leather, contained an ominous warning: the ritual of reckoning. Unable to resist the lure of the forbidden, Rigby cracked open the book, revealing pages filled with cryptic symbols and incantations. The duo, driven by curiosity and mischief, decided to perform the ritual as a joke. Little did they understand the consequences of their actions. As the last words of the incantation left Rigby's lips, an eerie silence fell over the park. Unbeknownst to Mordecai and Rigby, they had unleashed a dark force that would turn their world upside down. The air became thick, with an otherworldly energy, and a mysterious fog enveloped the park. At first, the duo laughed at their amateurish attempt at the occult, believing it to be just a mere prank. However, their laughter turned to horror as they witnessed the once familiar faces of their friends contort into grotesque undead monstrosities. The park became a nightmarish landscape, and Mordecai and Rigby were the unwitting architects of their own demise. Benson, with his characteristic scowl, now bore bloodshot eyes and a hunger for the flesh of the living. Muscle Man's green skin turned a sickly shade, and his maniacal laughter echoed through the park as he tore into the living. High Five Ghost, now a spectral monstrosity of death, floated through the air with a malevolent grin. Pops, who had always been innocent and naive, now stumbled forward with an unsettling, vacant look in his eyes. Margaret and Eileen, the love interests of Mordecai and Rigby, were no exceptions. The ones they cherished the most were now twisted, gnashing abominations. The once lively park now echoed with the anguished moans of the undead. Mordecai and Rigby, paralyzed with fear and guilt, watched in horror as their friends and loved ones became victims of the zombie apocalypse they unwittingly unleashed. Desperation set in as the survivors tried to make sense of the chaos. Mordecai and Rigby, armed with makeshift weapons, struggled to comprehend the gravity of their situation. The park, once a haven of laughter and camaraderie, had become a battleground of survival. In a grim twist of fate, Mordecai and Rigby found themselves separated from each other. The duo that had always faced the absurd together now navigated the horrors of the undead alone. Mordecai, fueled by guilt and a determination to survive, roamed the desolate park, haunted by the memories of his fallen friends. The once vibrant colors of the park now dulled by the omnipresent fog. Mordecai stumbled upon a makeshift barricade where survivors had gathered. Among them was Margaret, now transformed into a hollow shell of her former self. Her vacant eyes looked into Mordecai, triggering a surge of grief and regret in his heart. Driven by a bittersweet mix of love and horror, Mordecai approached Margaret. His trembling hand reached out to touch her cold, decaying flesh. The survivors watched in silence as Mordecai, tears streaming down his face, whispered a final goodbye to the love he had lost. As Mordecai pressed forward, the survivors formulated a plan to escape the park and find safety. The group, consisting of former enemies and unlikely allies, moved cautiously through the park, avoiding the relentless onslaught of the undead. Rigby had become a member of the zombie horde, and he lurked in the shadows, his glassy eyes fixed on Mordecai. The raccoon, once the epitome of comic relief, now embodied the nightmare that unfolded around them. Mordecai, tormented by the sight of his zombified friend, clung to the hope that somewhere within Rigby's undead shell, a fragment of their friendship remained. The survivors faced numerous challenges, navigating treacherous terrain and evading the relentless pursuit of the undead. Skips, despite his once immortal status, struggled to fend off the horde, his fatigue evident in every swing of his weapon. Muscle Man's sinister laugh echoed through the fog, a constant reminder of the horrors that lurked in the shadows. The survivors' journey led them to the park's exit, but the world beyond offered no respite. The once thriving town now lay in ruins, the street teeming with the undead. The survivors, faced with an uncertain future, pressed on, driven by the primal instinct to survive. In a cruel twist, the survivors discovered that the curse extended beyond the park's boundaries. The infection had spread like wildfire, transforming the once bustling town into a desolate graveyard. The group, now a ragtag assembly of the living, faced the grim reality that there was no escape from the apocalypse they had unleashed. As they struggled to maintain their humanity in the face of despair, Mordecai clung to the hope that Rigby, in his zombified state, retained a sliver of their friendship. The once playful raccoon, now reduced to a snarling, undead creature, haunted Mordecai's every step. The survivors, led by Mordecai, devised a desperate plan to reverse the curse and bring an end to the relentless tide of the undead. Guided by the cryptic writings in the ancient book, Mordecai and the survivors embarked on a perilous journey to locate the source of the curse and break its hold on their world. The quest took them through the remnants of the town, where memories of the past clashed with the grim reality of the present. The survivors faced harrowing challenges, from hordes of undead to the ever-present threat of betrayal from within their own ranks. As they delved deeper into the heart of the town, Mordecai confronted the painful truth that the only way to end the curse was to confront Rigby, now a symbolic representation of the horrors they had unleashed. The once lighthearted duo, inseparable in life, now stood on opposite sides of a cosmic tragedy. The final confrontation unfolded in the dilapidated remnants of the town center, where Mordecai faced off against his zombified friend. The air crackled with tension as Mordecai, fueled by a mix of sorrow and determination, pleaded with Rigby's undead form. Memories of their shared adventures flashed before Mordecai's eyes, a painful reminder of what was lost. In a moment of heartbreaking clarity, Rigby's vacant eyes locked onto Mordecai's, and a spark of recognition flickered within the undead raccoon. The survivors watched in suspense as Mordecai, with tears streaming down his face, reached out to his zombified friend. In a gut-wrenching twist, Rigby, for a fleeting moment, seemed to recognize his best friend, and a glimmer of their past friendship breaking through the veil of death. Hope swelled within Mordecai as he clung to the belief that their bond could transcend the curse that had consumed them. However, in a tragic turn, the moment of clarity was short-lived. Rigby's undead instincts took over, and with a guttural snarl, he lunged at Mordecai, forcing the survivors to intervene. The battle that was ensued was a brutal dance of survival, with Mordecai and the survivors pitted against the relentless onslaught of the undead. The survivors fought with a ferocity born of desperation, their every move fueled by the grim realization that their world had changed. As the battle reached its climax, Mordecai, battered and bruised, stood amid the chaos, his eyes locked on Rigby's snarling form. In a heart-wrenching moment, Mordecai, with a heavy heart, made a decision. He delivered a final blow to his zombified friend, severing the last tie to their shared past. The survivors, now facing the harsh reality of a world forever altered, gathered around Mordecai. The once lively park, now a graveyard of memories, serving as a haunting backdrop to their solemn moment of reflection. The survivors, united by loss and the indomitable spirit to persevere, looked toward an uncertain future. In the aftermath of the battle, Mordecai, haunted by the ghost of his past, emerged as a changed individual. The once carefree Blue Jay, now burdened by the weight of guilt and loss, stood at the crossroads of a world that had been irreversibly scarred. The survivors, each carrying their own scars and stories of survival, ventured into the unknown, their path uncertain and fraught with danger. The regular show park, once a haven of laughter and camaraderie, now stood as a somber testament to the fragility of life and the consequences of playing with forces beyond comprehension. As the survivors faded into the mist-shrouded horizon, Mordecai cast one last glance back at the park, a place that had been both a sanctuary and a crucible. Memories of laughter and friendship mingled with the haunting echoes of a world that had descended into chaos. In the silence that followed, the fog enveloped the park once more, obscuring the remnants of a world that had once been regular. The echoes were replaced by the mournful howls of the undead, a chilling reminder that the consequences of one fateful day would forever linger in the shadows. The park, once alive with the joyous chaos of its eccentric inhabitants, now stood as a solemn mausoleum of memories, a testament to the end of their world.